Hey everybody, so I am just back from recently seeing an early screener of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and thanks to Sony for putting that on. Based on the quality of Afterlife, I was highly anticipating this was going to be a great movie, and I was not disappointed in the least. The opening scenes gave promise to a premise that was a bit darker, certainly a bit more serious than what we're used to from this typically gap-filled iconic series. And it really set the tone to a threat of global proportions that was clearly far more insidious than, say, an insatiable Slimer with a mouthful of hot dogs. Speaking of Slimer, Ghostbusters film would not be the same without our beloved Green Ghost, who not only makes a strong appearance in this one, but it really does look like it was pulled straight out of my memory bank of classics 80s cartoons, which only added to the overall nostalgic effect, of which there's plenty to go around, even more so I would say than after. Now, after the pretty somber opening sequence passes like a ghost in the night, couldn't resist, it's replaced with a high-octane, blood-pumping, ghost-busting car chase as we're thrown into the Ghostmobile with the heroic Spangler family, who we got to meet in the previous installment, Afterlife. They treat us to a absolutely chaotic, trademark, destructive cat-and-mouse chase throughout the streets of Manhattan. Once that chase settles down, we get to meet up with ridiculous Mayor Peckman, played by William Atherton, who's threatening to shut down the Ghostbusters and chastises them. The film gives us a chance to catch our breath for a little bit as we learn what the Ghostbusters have been up to since the last film and how they plan to respond to their most recent ash chew. Now, to help us flesh out the plot and set us up for what's to come are the Ghostbusters old and new. Our current Spangler family is, of course, played by Paul Rudd, former science teacher Gary Gruber. Carrie Kroon, she plays Mama Callie in this one, and Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things fame as Trevor, along with McKenna Grace as Phoebe, who were forced to make a few changes to stay out of the mayor's crosshairs. And some of those changes don't exactly jive well with the entire family, especially young Phoebe, who is basically cast out of the active busting duty until she turns 18. She's 50 now, so 3 years is basically an eternity, right? Meanwhile, the film walks us through what the old guard has been up to. So we've got a Winston, of course, who's played by Ernie Hudson, along with a loyal team of engineers that he's put together to build a test facility to better understand the ghosts and possessed objects that they come across. And he also wisely creates a super storage unit to help compensate for the old one, which, it's kind of getting overstuffed over the years of catching all these ghosts. You wouldn't want that thing getting overstuffed now, would you? Meanwhile, Dan Aykroyd, who also co-produces the film, has been spending his golden years as a, somewhat eccentric antique dealer and collector of oddities, which may or may not have supernatural qualities. And we even get a mid-film reintroduction to Peter Venkman, played, of course, by Bill Murray, who evidently is still frustrating test subjects in the name of science. We definitely get to see more of him, which was awesome. All right, you guys with me so far? Because things are about to get really hairy here when a random peddler comes into Venkman's shop with some strange artifact over from his dead grandmother. Claiming a strained relationship with his recently deceased grandmother, the peddler, who's played as Nadine by the brilliantly hilarious Kamal Nadjiani. I hope I didn't mess that name up. But seriously, this guy, Kamal, absolutely hates his own spinoff from the... He seems to only care about getting the most cash for whatever raised by it. You guys can probably already see where this is going, right? I mean, without giving too much away, it turns out that one of the artifacts that Nadine sells Ray just so happens to contain the trapped spirit of a very angry demon that, as we soon learn, is a simple demon. He only wishes to be released so that he can turn every living soul into ice by way of pure fear for a second ice age and domination. The Ghostbusters, they really have the work cut out from it against all odds, when nobody else has a clue, which seems to be just the way they like it. But does it work here? In short, hell, yes it does. Because all the wisecracking one-liners, they're 100% all on point as ever before. And the special effects absolutely works to make us all believe in what we're seeing, from Slimer's munchy ways to giant lion statues come to life to all the ghosts and demons that we encounter, right up until the biggest baddie of them all, which for me looked like the angry bastard child of Satan and Slender Man, but with a much colder heart. I think even Zool would have had no choice but to bow down to this utterly terrifying beast. And in case you guys want to know exactly how believable the effects were, well, as I was walking away from the film, I happened to come across a full garbage bag line mysteriously crossed my path, and let's just say I didn't trust it. I'll leave you guys to guess why that is after you've seen the film. One of the things about this film that I absolutely loved was the inclusion of some much added heart that we got to experience from an unlikely friend that Phoebe encounters, who is a young ghostly woman. Well, maybe it's not that unlikely, it is called Ghostbusters after all. She encounters a young ghostly woman whose name is Melody, who's played brilliantly by Emily Ella Lind, who also starred in Doctor Sleep. And the relationship between Melody and Phoebe, while certainly complicated, worked to convey an air of nostalgia for, things that are both tragic and sad that we can't change, while also representing an acceptance of death in a way that is humanizingly beautiful and poetic, which, quite frankly, is a theme that ran through this entire film in mostly subtle ways, which really makes sense, considering the golden years that the original surviving casts are currently in the throes of. If Afterlife resurrected the love and the need for the long-retired Ghostbusters by introducing us to a new generation with the potential to grab the bull by the proton guns, then Frozen Empire is, at its base level, a story about passing the torch entirely. And with director Gil Keenan ensuring that the film runs at a perfect pace without any unnecessary or boring bits that jar us out of our experience, along with the original 1984 Ghostbusters screenwriter Ivan Reitman, who sadly did pass away in February of 2022, and whom this film here is dedicated to, which I thought was great to see that in there. He lends his screenwriting chops for this one, and there should be no doubt at all who you're going to call, or who you're going to keep calling when something is strange in your neighborhood. Made for today's generation, while taking yesterday's kids along for the ride, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire should offer plenty to warm your heart for a fun-filled, fully immersed 2-hour romp of busted ghosts and demons that is bound to make us unite, in the hopes that we haven't seen the last of our Spangler family, or Slimer for that matter. Alright, so before you start thinking the Dark Bites is all about puppies and sunshine, I did have a few nitpicks about the film, although they're pretty minor and really were completely overshadowed by the amount of fun that I had watching the whole thing. So take it with a grain of salt, but I also thought that there was a few of the characters where I questioned their storyline a little bit as far as what roles they were expected to play as their role developed in the film, which I know probably seems super vague, but I guarantee you'll understand it as you're watching the film. And I'll give you an example. So, of course, the character Janine, who is played brilliantly by Annie Potts, I'm so glad they brought her back for this, and she certainly does play a more prominent role than she did in the previous film, Afterlife. However, we're so used to seeing her on the phones, dispatching the Ghostbusters with the next big gig, with so much charisma and sarcasm, that I really felt like I needed to see more of that from her in this film. We do see her take on more of a Ghostbuster role. In fact, she's even in uniform. And as much as I love the fact that she did get to wear the suit and become a part of the Ghostbusters, let's face it, she was part of the Ghostbusters right from day one, without having to put a uniform on and shoot a proton pack at a fleeing ghost. That part I wasn't really so sure about. It made me a little bit nervous, so that if they do make another one, which I guarantee you guys, there's going to be another Ghostbusters movie. It's just a matter of who they're going to bring back for it. And if they happen to bring Janine back for it, I honestly think I'd be a little bit sad if I find out that she ends up playing more of a Ghostbuster role than the cranky old dispatcher that we've all come to love her for. That aside, the character certainly acted brilliantly on this, and everybody that played the part played it to a T, and we really couldn't have asked for a much better cast than what we got. You guys, go out, enjoy the show, and I will see you all again in the fabric of the being.